Thank you. Our next guest, for those of you who are in the industry already, who have been around the industry, will probably have heard of him. He's done amazing things and, again, been one of the pioneers of hemp and cannabis in the industry, at the forefront, fighting the good fight. He's been at it for a very, very long time. It is with a great honor and privilege to have in the room today Mr. Tony Budden. Beautiful. Tony, give Tony a round of applause, please.
Thank you.
I'm very excited. One thing I love about the cannabis industry is, you know, I come from the music industry originally, and when you try and get people to come and speak and do talks, there's always like, it can be hard work, you know. But the cannabis industry seems to be so much more open. So I'm really happy that you agreed to come and speak. Thank you sincerely for doing that. I've been following your journey for a long time, and you've done some incredible things. So let's get into it. First of all, tell us how you got into the hemp and what drew you to push your life into that space.
Originally, it was 1996. A bunch of students and a friend of ours' father happened to be a fabric importer. And one day he pulled out this piece of fabric. He had just been on a trip to China, and he said, "This is cannabis. This is what the Chinese have been doing with cannabis for a long time." And we held this and looked at it and were blown away. Obviously, we've only ever known it for one use, and that's smoking. And we, all of a sudden, just touching another part of the plant, another use of the plant, opened our minds that, hold on, there's way more to this plant than we've been told. And we decided right back then that this was strong. The word canvas comes from the word cannabis. So all canvas used to be made out of hemp. The Afrikaans word for shirt is hemp. All shirts that the guys wore when they went to sea was made out of hemp. And we thought, okay, hold on, this has got a huge opportunity way beyond, you know, obviously getting high, which is great and all, but there was more that specifically for South Africa that we thought we could enlighten people on, and we started making bags out of it. It was strong, it was durable, and obviously back then there was no natural and organic market. The only market we had was the wear what you smoke market. So those were the only people who really loved the plant and wanted to wear it and support it that way. But over the last, since then, nearly 24 years now, we've seen a massive growth in the interest, you know, around the environmental aspects, the social aspects, the economic aspects, over and above just people who use it to burn and put in their lungs.
So tell me about, firstly, I was going to read this quote, but I think maybe you could tell us how much hemp is part of your life.
Well, yeah, so it started out, as I said, 23 years ago, and it's kind of got to the point now where this morning I woke up under my hemp duvet, I put my feet onto the floor, which was hemp carpets, I opened my curtains, which are hemp curtains, I go to shower with hemp shampoo and hemp soaps, my house is made of hempcrete, I go to my cupboard and open my cupboard, it's made with hemp chipboard, take out my hemp jersey and my hemp boxes and my hemp socks today. What else? Go downstairs, make a smoothie with hemp seeds. Made a salad to take to work, put some hemp seed oil on. I took my longboard to Muizenberg for surf this morning, which is made with hemp fibergrass, not fiberglass. And I went to work at a hemp company that's providing jobs and helping provide all of these products for other people and supporting farmers. So.
Yes. Amazing. I'm obviously aware of a lot of the products you can make out of hemp, but for those of the people in the audience that don't really understand the range, the vast range of stuff you can do with hemp, can you just maybe give us a bit of insight into that?
Well, just the word hemp, a lot of people don't want to know what does hemp refer to, and is it only low THC? Is it, a lot of people think it's a male plant only. Hemp is a descriptive term for the non-psychoactive uses of cannabis. So like the analogy I use, it's like dairy is the descriptive term for milk from a cow. We don't say bovine juice. You know, it's a descriptive term. So if you're saying it's a hemp product, it's generally something that's not designed to create psychoactivity or to create, you know, CBD is it's blurring the line a little bit with medicine, but it's not, it's the non-psychoactive uses. So we've got fiber from the outside of the stalk. It's 3 times stronger than cotton. It's longer. Cotton uses 25% of the world's pesticides, and hemp uses none. You've got the inside of the stalk, which goes into hempcrete, goes into the chipboard. You've got the seeds, which have omega fatty acids, your omega-3, 6, and 9 in the optimum ratio for our body. So the plant presents it in balance for us. You've got protein, globulin edistin, which comes from the word edible. It's digestible protein. So these all from the seeds, and all of those core parts then feed into everything from the biocomposites that make surfboards and boats, the fiber that makes your canvas, as I said, the inside of the stalk. You can even use it for animal bedding because it's very absorbent. And that's how it works with making the hempcrete. Because that plant grows so fast, there's a lot of pores in the cellulose in the stalk. If you squeeze the inside of even a ganja plant of the stalk, it's porous. You can squash it. And those pores absorb lime when you mix it with lime to form hempcrete. It's a mix between calcium in the lime, carbon in the hemp. They bond to form calcium carbonate. So the older your hempcrete gets, the stronger it gets, which is the opposite of cement, which starts deteriorating after it sets. It immediately is on the deterioration path, where the hempcrete, every time it gets a little bit of moisture in, because it can breathe, it stays alive, it gets a degree harder. And it's also absorbing carbon into it all that time. So it filters carbon out of your house. So that's one of the benefits of wearing hemp. It's a hollow fiber, it breathes. So when it's hot, you feel cool. When you layer it with other clothing, it's insulating. The same in your house. When you're living in a hemp house, it breathes. Where the opposite of brick and cement, it's cold, dead stone. It's great, it's strong, but when it's cold and damp, that water condensates on your wall and then evaporates, and condensates and evaporates. So you have a cooling effect, where the hempcrete can take that moisture into the wall and then release it when it dries out. So you have this moderating effect. The house actually breathes. And all of us can do with a little bit more breathing and oxygen in our life. So wearing hemp is good for the body. Living in hemp is good for not only your body, obviously, but it's something else that you can't really measure. And anyone who's lived in a straw bale house or a mud house or any kind of natural breathable material will say there's an energy in it as well. You're not insulating with this either a plastic material or brick and cement. This breathability makes you feel part of nature. So everyone who comes to visit me and stays over say they sleep so well. Obviously, it's very quiet. It's such a good insulating material, and you'll maybe appreciate this. One of my plans and dreams that I will manifest is a solar-powered hempcrete studio.
I'm there.
Yeah. Come and record some green music. But these are benefits to the plant that we sometimes get caught behind the smoke screen. We so almost sometimes idolize that part of it, and we're missing out if we cut ourselves off there at what is really needed in Africa specifically is your jobs, houses, food, your baseline of the hierarchy of needs, and that's what the hemp part offers. Sort that out, and then we can have the other conversations on top of that on self-actualization and all of our human rights issues. But without sorting that baseline out, we're shaky if we don't have that foundation.
So just give us a bit of insight into how hemp can help sort those baseline issues out.
So basically, from one plant, you're growing a crop that, as a farmer, you're going to get your fiber. That's already a market that can go to whether you're selling it for textiles or for paper. Then you're going to have the stalk material. That's your byproduct that goes into either animal bedding on your property or into hempcrete building or into a chipboard factory. You're going to get seeds, which can go into nutrition. You can feed your own animals on it, or you can sell it, obviously, into the nutrition market. And the current value for hemp seed oil is around 100 Rand a liter, more than olive oil. So we're looking at one crop that uses a minimum amount of pesticides, grows in 4 months, and provides all of these things that we really need without harming the planet.
So I guess the big question is, there's this amazing plant with amazing benefits. Why the hell has it taken so long? And forget the whole recreational side, but why has it taken so long? Because I know you've been trying to get licenses for many, many years to grow hemp, which just for clarity has very, very low traces of THC, but so minimal that you can't get high on it. So what has been the challenge, and why has it taken so long?
So the crazy part was when they banned the plant is they didn't just ban the smoking side. They didn't just ban THC or stop people who wanted to get high. They did this law, and our law still says, our Drugs and Drug Trafficking Act says, cannabis, the whole plant, any product thereof, any portion thereof is an undesirable dependence-producing substance. So they banned the whole plant. They didn't, it's as crazy as saying you can't have mushrooms with your breakfast. Some people get high on mushrooms, or some people take poisonous mushrooms and die. Or you can't make big corn bites out of corn because some people make moonshine liquor out of corn. You know, they just blanket banned this plant because there's a conspiracy that goes that at that time, nylon was invented in 1935 and hemp was made illegal in 1937 in the States. And up to that point, hemp was all the ropes on all the boats. It was the sails on all the boats. It was the uniforms in the army. It was everything. So DuPont wanted to get rid of hemp as an alternative and was part of the lobby group that pushed for the banning of marijuana. There was a whole Mexican drug issue, like let's ban it, the devil's weed, you know, black jazz musicians, it was all racial. And they used that to build up this kind of fervor around the devil's weed. Let's get it out. We have to get this plant off the planet. And they just banned the whole thing, but they also got rid of their competition in hemp. The other thing was the paper side, that up to that point, hemp, you have to process it quite mechanically. You have to pull that fiber off with a machine. And cotton had kind of taken quite a lot of that because with slavery, they could send people out into these big cotton farms and picking the fiber because cotton's fiber is there, where hemp had another process. And this guy invented a new machine. The records are there that it was processing hemp by sending it through a series of rollers that crushed the stalk between them but didn't break the fibers. And his byproduct was this white pulp that he approached the paper corporations and said, I'm getting 4 times as much paper per acre as you would from trees. And it's white. It's not brown like tree pulp. And they bought up the rights to his machine because then they ran, and then it was the Hearst Corporation ran this campaign called Reefer Madness campaign where they did all these articles. She was a good girl till she smoked marijuana. And you know, the marijuana, the devil's weed, and they put it through about 1 minute and 43 minutes in Congress after a couple of years of what they called yellow journalism. And it was a Friday afternoon, the vote went, okay, all those in favor of banning this demon weed go out that door, all those against go out that door. Obviously all the congressmen wanted to get rid of this evil weed. But Hearst, who owned all the paper mills, all the timber plantations, who realized if hemp was made into paper, you'd lose all that investment, was the main guy behind pushing all of those stories. So that hemp was tied in with getting rid of the smoking side has stopped us, because that law still exists at UN level. You know, and then all the African countries are too shit scared to say, we want to change our laws around cannabis, even for hemp, because they're scared. Like Malawi, 60% of the GDP is government grants. South Africa, we take US aid, we take World Bank loans, we take everything. If we legalize in any way, the governments here are scared that they're going to lose all this foreign funding. So we've been caught in what I call the collateral damage of the war on drugs. Here is something that is really like benign. It only offers good. And you know, why we took this on as I call it there's a great little meme that goes, I bought a hemp rug for my patio, a hemp carpet for my patio. It's the gateway rug. So we believe that hemp is the gateway to get people who only see this plant as evil to touch and feel something that's tangible. It's not smoke. You know, smoke is ethereal. We can sit here and debate the benefits of getting high or the harms of getting high. Even medical, we're still waiting for the absolute clinical trials. That's a long debate. But hemp, there's no ways that you can touch and feel these products and say this has got no value. And that's what they've told us. This plant has no legitimate value. And in my mind, the undesirable dependence-producing substance, who is it undesirable to? I desire it. A lot of other people desire it. And dependence-producing is also like, I depend on the roof over my head to keep me warm. I depend on my clothing. I depend on water to keep me alive. Dependence producing shouldn't be enough of a reason to ban something, and this undesirability is also completely according to whoever's looking at it. We all desire it here, so it can't be a totally undesirable substance.
Yeah, it's unfortunately one of those travesties that we'll look back on at some point and go, how the hell did we do that? The same as the petrol engine, you know, and a whole bunch of other things when lobbyists get involved and economics get involved in the background.
Henry Ford's first Model T car was the door panels, the whole car, the body was made with hemp fiber and biocomposites. That was his vision. He didn't want metal cars, and he dreamed of running it from the soil, that you would grow enough energy out of the soil to power the tractor to work that soil for the next 4 years. And he was using potatoes. Rudolf Diesel, when he presented his diesel engine, he presented it running on peanut oil. Yeah. Now, the problem with those at that stage is that oil out of the ground was $1 a barrel, even less, coming out of Texas. So they chose to go with that. And also the alcohol, all the ethanols were still highly taxed after prohibition. So those two were the visionaries of our automobile industry. They chose plants. And unfortunately, we went another route. We went, instead of carbohydrates, we went hydrocarbons. And that's where all the problems started.
Yeah, so there's work to be done, but I think we're turning the corner. Where do you see things going in the next 5 years in South Africa, legislatively?
So there's enough momentum now. And I've just done a run of like 4 conferences in a row. And one of the things my takeaway, my wife asked me when I got back after Joburg and Canatech and another Vukani conference and then a legal conference, what was your takeaway? And I said, for me, that I'm seeing that Africans, and specifically also black South Africans, but Malawians and Zimbabweans and Swazi, they come to me and they ask me about hemp. They've realized that the medical side's going to be monopolized and totally controlled, and it's not going to be for the people. And the recreational side, we've still got some fights to go before we realize complete human rights around that. But hemp is really attractive to the people who live in the rural areas who are running out of resources. Malawi's deforestation is rampant. But and most of it, a lot of it, is to make charcoal to burn, to make bricks. So they have these massive kilns all over the place, and they're cutting down hardwood forests to make bricks. The deforestation is leading to erosion, which is clogging up the estuaries where the fish breed. So the fisheries are collapsing because people want to build with bricks. So they're starting to see, hold on, we need to make a new way of building, and hemp offers that, obviously. Nutrition. We feed people in the township here with hemp seed oil in Khayelitsha. And we built a hempcrete soup kitchen for a lady called Mama Mickey who feeds about 250 people a day off of pension and donations. Most big-hearted woman I've ever met. And during that process of building the soup kitchen, I gave her 10 liters of hemp seed oil. And I said, Mama Mickey, just tell me what happens when you put this in the soup of people with HIV and TB. Because most of our market at Hemporium has been rich Mlungus who can afford to pay 150 Rand for a small bottle of hemp oil because it comes from Canada. But they're already eating coconut oil and flax oil and olive oil and all of that. So their immune systems are good. They're all the raw foodies, vegans, whatever. Mama Mickey phones me a week later and says, Tony, what was the medicine you put in that oil? I said, what do you mean medicine? It's nutritional oil. It wasn't medical cannabis. And she said, well, I've had a guy walk to me for the first time in a year. He's had been bedridden with TB. And I've had to take the soup to him for the last year. He walked to come get his soup for the first time. And I've had a girl whose eczema was so bad that she had dropped out of school because she was itching so much and so embarrassed about her flaky forearms, and the eczema's going away. And a kid whose seizures started slowing down just on hemp seed oil. And then I looked at the local diet in the township. There's no omega fatty acids. Omega fatty acids come from raw seeds, raw nuts, raw oils. There's none of that in the local diet. It's only maybe sunflower oil, but it's fried at such a high temperature, it's all dead. So people's immune systems need essential fatty acids to run. They're essential. And so what we're seeing by just putting some hemp seed oil into the diet, they're calling it the miracle oil. So this is where the needs are happening. So we're seeing this groundswell of support now coming for hemp. And the hypocrisy of legalizing high THC while still criminalizing low THC hemp, they can't hold that line anymore. So we believe that in the next year, these commercial research permits are going to be converted into proper commercial permits. And if not, we have to do what we should have done 20 years ago, is take them to court again.
So just tell us the difference between applying for a license for hemp or for growing THC. I presume there's a different license, or is it all umbrella?
Yeah, so the medical license obviously is super controlled, and you've got to go up to your kind of GMP quality. So the investment needed, the reality, I wouldn't start the process if I didn't have 20 million Rand. Hemp, you need the fence, you need to have certified low THC seeds, but you still need the processing, and this is where government needs to be involved. If we're going to set up a textile industry in South Africa, we need to get the fiber off the stalk and turn it into a yarn. Now that's investment in a processing line, and that's not it's not the hype of the whole medical and recreational as people aren't throwing money at hemp. You know, like Canada got really lucky by legalizing first, because they got every single stoner from the 60s to now who's been waiting, saying, like, one day this is going to go legal somewhere and I'm going to invest. And they got all the easy money. Like, if you look at most of the Canadian companies, especially on the recreational side, some of them up to 40% of the investors were first-time investors, had never bought a share in anything else in their life, but just wanted to get in. And hemp hasn't had that, obviously, because it's more business as usual. We've got to set up a whole industry. We've got to set up these value chains. We've got to teach the people how to make this yarn again, how to take the seeds and turn it into an oil and turn that into a product. But that's jobs all the way along that value chain. And the model I'd love to see for that is, especially on the food side, which is the easiest product to get. The plant, if you pollinate it properly, it produces seeds like crazy. You know, we've all tried to keep the males away, which is one of the issues. Cross-pollination is something that we'll have to deal with in this country, but we have a big enough country that you can have medical growing areas and recreational growing areas and hemp growing areas. It's about a 15-kilometer barrier you need for a hemp farm. But you know, when you do pollinate it properly, there's a lot of seeds that comes off there, and that's the easiest to process. And I'd love to see a similar model to like olive oil, where the farms have a press on the farm, and you have Tilbach organic hemp seed oil coming off this farm or wherever, and that's bottled, produced, everything with the label. That model for me would really, really work well in South Africa.
Come on. We've run out of time. I feel like I could speak to you all night, so we'll have to do this again sometime. There's a load of other things I wanted to ask you, but thank you for sharing that knowledge. It's just fascinating. The deeper we get into this as we all learn and grow about this industry is just amazing. And so I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge and being here to share it tonight.
It's a pleasure. It's a long story to put in.
It's a long story. This is just a taster. We'll have to get you into our studio and do a proper, full-on, long-term interview. Okay.
I appreciate that.
But thank you so much for coming. Let's put our hands together for Tony Budden, please.
Thank you.